We are now at a point in time where I can thank you all for joining us today. We do have a final, very exciting segment that is the State of the State with Governor Jared Polis. But before we introduce Governor Polis, I would once again like to thank the sponsors that made this event possible. You have been seeing their logos scroll in the upper right corner of the screen this entire time, but I would like to share them with you once again. Our gold sponsors are Elevation's Credit Union, FNBO, and UC Health. Thank you all so much for your generosity. Our silver sponsors include BizWest Media, and our bronze sponsors include Columbine Health Systems, Comcast, and Woodward. We also owe a debt of gratitude to our event sponsors, Canvas Credit Union, Jet Marketing, Northern Engineering, Officescapes, Steinorama, and Total Facility Care. Thank you all so much. I'm now very honored to turn the screen over to Darren Atberry, Market President and SVP of Government Affairs and Strategic Relationships for Elevation's Credit Union. Darren leads Elevation's market expansion efforts in the Northern Colorado region, along with the credit union's government affairs programs and strategic relationships. Throughout his career, Darren has served as an advocate for community collaboration and has built strong relationships with both public and private sector partners. Prior to joining Elevations in 2021, Darren served as the Fort Collins City Manager for over 17 years. Under his leadership, the city government transformed from a trust us model to one that is data-driven and performance-based. And in 2017, the city received the prestigious Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. Please help me welcome Darren.
Well, thank you, Laurel, and thank you for your summary of the important business agenda items for the NCLA. And I also want to say thank you to NCLA in general, Sandra, the local chambers of commerce. This has really been a good morning. I think there's a lot of information to absorb. There's a lot to think through, then really determine how to get involved. And I can say, as a former public official, your involvement does matter. Our involvement as business, having a business voice matters. It matters at the local city council level. It matters at the state level, and it matters at the federal level. So we're really proud as Elevation's Credit Union to be a key sponsor in this event. So Roy, if you would quickly turn it over to my video, I would appreciate it. And then I'll come back and...
Can how you bank support your community? Can it be a force for good right here in Fort Collins? Supporting the financial well-being of our members, helping more local families buy homes, and working together to donate time and money to local nonprofits. At Elevation's Credit Union, we've been doing that in Colorado for nearly 70 years, and we invite you to join us. Elevation's Credit Union. It matters where you bank. Insured by NCUA.
So at Elevations, we are very passionate and intentional about serving Fort Collins and the Northern Colorado region. This is a team that I knew when I was a city manager. I knew of Elevations. I had a very close relationship with the executive team, with the board and the staff who are really producing great results on a daily basis. I'll tell you, it's a team that's committed to our members and to our businesses. We stand for quality and performance excellence and community. Last year was a banner year for Elevations on the mortgage production front. We had over $3 billion worth of really helping people accomplish their homeownership dreams and needs. We're a full-service financial cooperative, non-for-profit entity, providing business banking services, full-service commercial lending, and a full suite of consumer products. So the reason why I'm here is I have the privilege of introducing our closing speaker, Governor Jared Polis. Governor Polis is an entrepreneur, education leader, and public servant. He started his first business, American Information Systems, while in college out of his dorm room. By the time he was 30, he'd launched 3 successful companies, including Pro Flowers, which many of you have, I'm certain, have heard of, one of the world's leading online flower retailers. Jared's pioneering role in the internet economy earned him an Entrepreneur of the Year award distinction from Ernst & Young. Following these business successes, Governor Polis committed himself to making sure other Coloradans had the opportunity to pursue their dreams. He co-founded Techstars, a startup accelerator that mentors entrepreneurs from all walks of life, and Patriot Boot Camp, which helps veterans start their own businesses after coming home from their service. In addition to his career as an entrepreneur, much of Governor Polis's adult life has been focused on improving public education. He served 6 years on the State Board of Education, where he worked to raise pay for teachers and reduce class size for students. He also founded several public charter schools for at-risk youth and served as superintendent of one of them, the New America School, which helps immigrants earn their high school diplomas. Most recently, Governor Polis served as the U.S. representative for Colorado's 2nd Congressional District, which stretches from Larimer County and the Wyoming border to Central Mountains at the heart of Colorado's tourism economy, to Boulder and to US 36 high-tech corridor. During his time in Congress, the Center for Effective Lawmaking ranked Governor Polis the most effective member of the Colorado House delegation due to his success working across the aisle to improve Colorado schools, protect public lands, and support startups and small businesses. Governor Polis is a Colorado native. He was born in 1965. He and his partner Marlon and their 2 children are all avid Rockies fans. So let me say on a more personal note, as the former city manager of Fort Collins, I had numerous opportunities to interact with the governor, and also when he was a member of Congress. I always found him to be extremely accessible. He was always willing to engage in the critical topics and he was quick to lock on to really the relevant issues of these critical challenges that we faced as communities, as a state, and as a nation. So, and then I also recall early on being at a meeting at City Hall, the Fort Collins City Hall, with the governor and his staff, early on in the I-25 days. And I'll never forget his stressing the importance of business engagement in I-25, and that governments act in a collaborative way to make I-25 happen. So really proud of where we are now. And Governor Polis, thank you for your partnership, and I'll turn it over to you.
And it appears that we've got the governor with us now, and we're so grateful to have you. Governor Polis, it's nice to see you. Darren Atterbury, who has joined us, did a wonderful introduction of you, and perhaps we can spotlight Darren real quick to say hello, because I know the 2 of you know each other well, and he was privileged to have the opportunity to introduce you this morning. And we're grateful to have you join us and share your thoughts. Darren, are you available to pop on real quick?
I see Darren there. Hey, Darren, how are you?
Yes. Hello, Governor. Good to see you. Thank you, Sandra.
Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to say another word or two, Darren, before we pop over to the governor?
Governor, I was just saying that it was a treat to work with you as the former city manager of Fort Collins. I just found you to be incredibly accessible, really attentive to the real issues that we were struggling with as a city and as a region, and as a congressman, and then also as a governor. So just wanted to express my gratitude. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on. Today we've talked about so many different issues that are very, very relevant. And now that I'm with Elevation's Credit Union and on a different side of the community building portfolio, it's exciting to work with everyone on these issues. So, Governor, again, thank you for giving us the time. It's great to see you, and we're grateful for your work.
Well, Darren, it's great to see you again in your new capacity. And as you know, I represented Northern Colorado for about a decade in Congress. Larimer most of the time, for a while Southwest Weld County until redistricting. I think personally it's exciting that Northern Colorado is effectively going to get its own congressional district now, in Adams and Greeley and parts of Larimer. I think that's a good thing for continuity. It's exciting to have a voice for Northern Colorado, and we'll look forward to working with whoever you elect to advance the needs of Northern Colorado. This is an exciting time as Colorado and the rest of the nation seek to build back stronger. We submitted our budget recently to the legislature, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of kind of the main focal points of that effort, as well as some of the things with the usages of the one-time funds that we have. Just as many cities and counties have one-time funds, really from two sources. One is ARPA, American Rescue Act. There's one-time funds. The other is like state and local county and city government. The state also, at the start of the pandemic, made a lot of cuts. Tax revenues did not decrease as some people had feared. They're very robust and strong. So there's a one-time sort of surplus fund to expend. Now, we want to make sure that, and I encourage cities and counties to do this too. First of all, the first tenet of our budget is fiscal responsibility, meaning do what we can to shore up the budget for the long term. Prepaying different accounts. We at the state level, I hope we can defend this through the legislature, of a record reserve level over 13%. When I took office, it was just over 7%. So nearly double the reserve level because of the economic uncertainty that exists, and to make sure that our state has a rainy day fund if and when it's needed. Hopefully not for many years, but you always want to be ready. And I would encourage local governments to do the same. So fiscal responsibility is a key piece of our budget, leaving money in the reserve, prepaying accounts for 2 or 3 years, and making sure that we can sustain the investments that we make. The second is transformational investments. And this bucket is a combination of the American Rescue Act funds and the one-time funds in the state budget. The state's identified us in conjunction with the Republicans and Democrats in the legislature after extensive listening sessions, including one in Northern Colorado that I joined. It was virtual at the time, like this. We've identified several areas, and they overlap largely with the needs of Northern Colorado. One of those is that we've gone with regards to about a $500 million state investment, leveraging that with municipal and county funds for those jurisdictions that have identified housing as a key priority. We hope to unlock billions of dollars in investment with the state funding as a catalyst. There's an interim process of the state legislature with Republicans and Democrats working on those recommendations. And we look forward to figuring out the best way to allocate that. The second is behavioral health. This is needed across Colorado, addressing substance abuse, the suicide rate, the increase in pandemic-related mental health issues that people have had. And we're also looking at a transformational investment in that area, $400 to $500 million, likely including step-down facilities, meaning, we have, after somebody has a 24 or 72-hour hold, far too often they're effectively released back out on the street. That's not good for them. It's not good for society. We want to make sure there's a place where people can go if they need recovery for a period of weeks or months, and be able to restore their dignity and ability to support themselves. The third tenet of the budget is record investments in workforce and education. We are increasing the budget per student for our public schools by about $560 per student. And what that means for a class of 25 kids, they're going to have about $12,000, $13,000 more in that class, meaning better teacher salaries, smaller class size, but also hopefully, and districts obviously decide what to do with it, restoring arts programs that were cut. We're very excited about what school districts can do with an additional $560 per child. It's also, from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, important to sustain that investment. So we want to make sure that the money to sustain that for the next 3 years plus is put in the state education fund. So that will sustain that additional increase regardless of the budget situation for the next few years. So that's another important investment that we're making as well. Two others, public safety. We're after listening to sheriffs and DAs across the state, we put together a package to submit to the legislature, about $120 million for recruiting and retaining law enforcement, for community policing models, for co-responder models, for upgrading the forensics lab for the state to give better and quicker turnaround time on data, increasing the size of the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, because we're witnessing an increase in interjurisdictional crime, some of the auto theft rackets where, they're stolen in one county and chopped up in another, sold in another, as well as supporting rural law enforcement with the Colorado Bureau of Investigations. So public safety is another one. And then we also are working with the legislature on a package around decreasing homelessness, which is not just a Denver problem. We see it in Fort Collins, we see it in Greeley, we see it in Adams County. And we know that that is also linked to the issue of behavioral health and of substance abuse. And we're looking to build additional capacity around substance abuse treatment in particular to help make sure that people can escape the cycle of dependency on particularly meth and heroin, but also alcohol that keeps robs people of their dignity and leaves them on the streets. So those are some of the big areas for the state budget. I know you've already talked a lot about infrastructure. We're very excited that with the combination of the bipartisan state infrastructure bill, and I want to thank all of you for your support on that, and now the federal one, as anticipated, we will be able to fund and complete the 10-year plan several years ahead of schedule. So whether that's 7 or 8 or 9 years, we're very excited that what was once a 10-year plan with no plan to do and no plan to fund is now, in fact, or maybe it was an 11-year or 12-year plan to fund, now will be funded in less than 10 years, which we are very excited about, of course, including the work on Highway 25 North that I worked on when I was in Congress, and of course is now part of the 10-year plan as well. So we have dynamic, growing communities in Northern Colorado. We rely on infrastructure. Northern Colorado will benefit tremendously from the combination of the state infrastructure plan and the federal infrastructure plan. And we're very excited to work with Weld and Larimer, Adams, and Boulder County to make Northern Colorado an even more amazing place. So thank you for the time, and I'm happy to take some questions.
Oh.
Like many people, you can see I'm taking advantage of this December. I'm taking advantage of this December sun to be outside. Who thought we would be, outside in the sun in December? But, I'm trying to find the silver lining on the lack of good skiing in Colorado right now.
Indeed. And we're so grateful to have you join us this morning. And the beauty of Zoom is you can be with us from anywhere. Appreciate your comments with respect to the budget and the overview. I know of critical importance to the business community is the unemployment insurance piece, and you've included in your budget, I believe, $600 million. And perhaps we just want to reiterate our appreciation for the recognition of that, and any additional push on that on the legislative front to get that accomplished would be much appreciated.
Yeah, and I want to thank the Greeley Chamber, the Fort Collins Chamber, the Loveland Chamber, any other chambers on this call. We can only get this done with your help. And we think it's absolutely critical to prevent payroll tax increases that are otherwise looming and imminent in about 1.5 years or 2 years. Sometimes the business community is a little too short-term focused, and they're like, this is not now, this is in 2 years. Well, you won't like a payroll tax increase in 2 years. It's not good for Colorado employers. It's not good for companies. We can avert it largely if we are able to restore the integrity of the UI Trust Fund. Many states are doing this. We want to be one of them because we believe the states that restore the integrity of the UI Trust Fund will have a competitive advantage in attracting and growing good jobs in their state. We don't want to be one of the highest states for payroll tax, and now's the time to act to avoid that.
Indeed. Thank you so much. We couldn't agree with you more. And we will do our part to, and we've talked about it quite a bit during this session, and we will continue to do our part to emphasize the importance of accomplishing that during this legislative session. Thank you too for your mention of the North I-25 corridor and your work early on in that corridor is on the congressional side. It is in the 10-year plan, but we want to be sure that in that 10-year plan that ultimately the dollars do flow to complete that project. We have little concern about the completion of the funding of that corridor. We've got about $600 million more to go in certain segments, and we'll take advantage of this opportunity to emphasize the importance of that, not only to the region, but to the entire state. And even as a national defense corridor and a freight corridor, it's so critical that we get that done in a timely fashion.
Yes, and it's in a much better place, Sandra, thanks to your help and others than it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Indeed.
With a combination of the $5 billion plus state plan and the federal money. It really is, victory is in sight, which is, very different than when we were looking at it a few years ago and we were worried it would be pushed, further and further into the future because the plan was simply unfunded.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, I'll just comment. We did have within our morning, we talked about climate change and the air quality and the various regulatory matters and rulemakings that are unfolding in affecting the myriad of industry sectors. We're watching all of that very closely. We've pushed back where we felt it was appropriate. We do have concerns about the speed with which a lot of this rulemaking is unfolding, and the ability of industry to stay up, and the potential cost benefit of all of that. So again, just as a marker, if you will, know that the business community, not just us, but at large, is engaged, has expressed some concerns with which some of the speed on some of this is unfolding. But we appreciate and understand the need and the desire and the objective that has been laid out by your administration and pursuing that. And we appreciate the partnership and continued open door to engage in that dialogue on the way in which this is all unfolding and the potential economic consequence of all of that.
Well, you'll be happy to hear, Sandra, and I'm sure you're not hearing it for the first time, but the speed is too slow for many of the environmental advocates. I know. And it's precisely because they want to have a deliberative process over there. There's rulemaking over the next several years, frankly, in many of these areas. They have a good inclusive process. I would also highlight one area of our state budget, a clean air package of about $400 million. We feel that by this one-time investment from the state, by prioritizing this area, that can also help reduce the need for regulations that clean our air in other areas. So certainly we would love the support of the business community in accelerating the transition with sort of the carrot rather than the stick. And that includes things like electrifying school buses across our state, working to build additional capacity around a green bank and other areas that this transition would put less challenging requirements before the regulators over the next few years.
Yeah, indeed. No, I appreciate that. Highlighting that is important. There are multiple facets to this overall conversation, and we're here to work alongside you all in determining how to move forward. I want to be respectful of your time, and we are so incredibly grateful to have you join us this morning. And we look forward to working with you, your administration, and with the legislative leaders as we enter into the 2022 legislative session. And appreciate your being with us today, and appreciate everyone for your time with us today. We look forward to your active engagement. As was noted before, the engagement of the business community is an important voice alongside the governor and the decision makers who are determining the appropriate in 2022 will be no different. And again, thank you all for being here, and you all have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks so much.